Clear.
This one, 100% absolutely true. Mooney rumors. I mentioned before, the Mooneys are probably subject to more myths and rumors and other things than any other airplane. I've never seen any plane that just has all the things. I mean, there's, certain other airplanes have like one thing associated with them, the V-tail Dr. Killer, or, Piper Apache, you lose one engine, the other engine will take you to the crash site and stuff like that. But Mooneys has tons of them. So I thought we'd do is on the way back to Midland, we'll talk about all the various Mooney myths and other things that I've come across during my time. So I'll step up here, do a run up, and talk to you back in the air a little bit. I've never flown this airplane with the autopilot and wing leveler mode, so I'm actually trying it out today.
6.45.
Don't know why. This seemed like something interesting to do.
Great Lakes, April.
Oh, Mooney myths. One of the ones that's awesome. If you've ever seen the video by Just Plain Silly, Brian with a Y did the awesome vintage airplane ads on Mooneys, and one of the funny ones was room in the back seat. Only if Carole Baskin's Tigers ate your legs or something like that. It was quite funny. So what I'll do is I will show you the picture in this airplane of what's similar to what they showed in that. If I can recreate it right now.
Into the Mount Pleasant Airport, port I for cancellation in the air. This frequency on the ground, not later than 5 minutes after I will be a telephone.
It's basically the back seat, or the front seat, the seat back of the front seat touching the back seat. And it makes it look like it's so cramped inside that you can't even sit in the back seat. Well, actually, that's not where the seat back of the front seat is. It's actually the fact that the seat in the front slides back that far is actually a feature that Mooney put in. To make it easier getting in and out of the airplane, they put those seat rails all the way to the back, so you can slide the seat all the way to the back until it touches the back seat, which is kind of cool. It actually makes it a little nice and easier getting in and out of the passenger door. So that one, not really a thing. There's plenty of legroom in the back seat of a Mooney. Not so much in the short body Mooneys like this one. There's less, but I've taken 4 adults in this thing plenty of times. Hasn't really been much of an issue. If you get the J models and whatnot, you have the longer bodies. They do a even better job of having a legroom in the back seat. So that's one.
Okay, thanks. Great day.
Number 2. The second one I hear is Mooneys are really hard to fly. And I guess, this is always a matter of opinion, but I don't really think they're that hard to fly. They are a little bit touchy on the controls because unlike most other airplanes that have cables and pulleys, and the flight controls, Mooney uses push rods, and the push rods make for the controls being very sensitive. There's no slop in it, but in addition to being very sensitive, the push rods, rods don't bend around corners, so you can't have as much control movement without the rods coming into one another and creating an interference. So the motion of the controls is much, especially in the ailerons, is much less than other airplanes, which means it's much touchier. I'll show a picture up here of during the run-up when I did the flight controls test before takeoff.
Thank you.
And like aileron deflection on a standard typical airplane like a Piper or a Cessna, you can take the yoke and turn it all the way to 90 degrees and a little bit past before you hit the stops. This airplane, you're lucky if you have 30 degrees worth of motion until you hit the stops on the ailerons, which means the ailerons are 3 times as sensitive. So it's a little bit touchier, but other than that, I wouldn't say it's hard to fly. It is, the one thing I would say though, is that the short-bodied Mooneys, like this one, the E models and the C models, they're very short coupled, meaning the tail is very close to the center of gravity in the wings, which means the airplane is a little bit unstable, especially in turbulence. It feels a little bit squirrely. You can probably tell from the videos, the nose, if I'm not like really trying to actively manage that with the rudder pedals, the nose wants to yaw around a lot, so it is a little bit squirrely, the short body Moonies. I have flown in M20J, and that was much more stable in turbulence. It felt a lot more like a Piper Arrow. But hard to fly? No, I mean, like I said, it's a matter of opinion, but they're definitely more sensitive on the controls, but, you know, it's just like anything else. Yeah, you get used to it. Next one, hard to land in a crosswind. I heard this one on this one pilot message board, and I frankly have no idea where this one came from. Yeah, absolutely, I would say absolutely no truth to this particular one. But if anything, I would say other than twin engine airplanes, which have really nice rudder and differential thrust and everything to help you in big crosswinds, this is probably the best airplane to land in a strong crosswind that I've flown. At least that's what it seems to me. The one thing to know is, you know, everyone talks about Mooneys having the tail on backwards, you know, so because the tail slants forward, whereas most airplanes, you know, it was done for aesthetics, make the tail slant backward to make it look sleeker. But the reason why, from what I've heard, the reason why Mooney put the tail on so it slants forward is so that when you're in the flare and the nose is pointing up, the tail that normally slants forward, as it points up, now it's actually horizontal. So when you're going down the runway in the flare position, you have more rudder authority because the air is going perpendicular over the direction of the rudder. So anyway, hard to land in a crosswind. I'd say that one's totally busted.
Good evening.
Next one, they like to float a lot on landing. So let me start out by saying every airplane will float a lot on landing if you don't have your approach speed dialed in. Some planes are more sensitive to it than others. Trainer airplanes, they're quite draggy. That means you can afford to screw up your approach speed a little bit more. It's still going to float. I mean, your Cessna 172 will float quite a bit on landing if you come in 10 knots fast. But if you nail your airspeed, you're not going to get a lot of float. But one thing with that being said, yeah, the Mooney is very aerodynamically clean. So yeah, it will float a little bit if you come in fast, but yeah, you just have to nail your airspeed. Yeah, you got to be precise on your airspeed, and that's all there is to it. And by the way, just so you know, this one is the subject of a lot of, you know, myths and rumors. So much so that there are so many websites and web articles called "How to Land a Mooney Without Floating," and there are videos on YouTube, "How to Land a Mooney Without Floating." So I posted a joke video a while back called "How to Float a Mooney Without Landing," and that was purely a joke. I was really trying to keep a straight face throughout the thing, trying not to laugh. I don't know that anyone got the humor of it besides me, but I thought it was funny. But anyway, yeah, it will float more than other airplanes if you have imprecise airspeed control on final. Have precise airspeed control on final, not a big deal. Next one, low useful load. I read this somewhere, and this is another one where I have no idea where anyone gets this from. I believe the useful load of this particular airplane is just shy of 1,000 pounds. So it's not like a twin or anything like that, but it's a heck of a lot better than the vast majority of singles that I've flown. I quite regularly fly, not regularly, but I fly this thing at least 3 times a year with 4 adults in it, baggage, and we can usually, not a lot of baggage, we can usually take about 20 to 30 pounds of baggage. That's more for a center of gravity issue, which I'll talk about after this. But then that allows us to take 35 gallons of fuel. So 4 adults and 35 gallons of fuel, you know, people will say, well, you can't take full fuel. Well, I don't know if you watched my video on the performance test, but 35 gallons of fuel in this airplane gets you a long damn way. In fact, 35 gallons of fuel will get me from Detroit to just about Atlanta, Georgia. In fact, I should have no problem getting like Peachtree Airport, north suburbs of Georgia. We'll get there with 4 adults, the fuel we got. So I'm not.
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah, 35 gallons is plenty. This thing is plenty good as a four-passenger airplane. The only thing I do like about, I don't like about this particular airplane is it does have an aft CG problem. And I don't know if that's common among all M20Es or if that's just an issue with this particular one. But this one does have a 2-axis autopilot, which sits in the tail section, so that puts weight back towards the tail. It has a, the newer ELT, sits far back in the tail section. And then I got the alternator upgrade on this one, which removed weight from the nose. So my only knock on this airplane from a weight and balance perspective is nothing to do with useful load. It's that the CG is a little bit on the aft side. So low useful load, I would say busted. CG problem, yeah. Next one. They are bad ground handling airplanes. This one, 100% absolutely true. This is by far the worst ground handling airplane I've ever flown. And it's not even close. It's not even competition. The stiff rubber puck landing gear, there's very little damping. It's very stiff. It bounces around a lot. It's just awful on the ground. But not awful enough to make me not want to buy it. I mean, or make me not want to fly it or own this airplane. Like I tell people, I buy airplanes, for being in the air, not on the ground. I'm in a car, I'll worry about its ground handling. In an airplane, not that worried about its ground handling too much. And besides that, if I'm being 100% honest, I will trade the smooth, buttery ride of Oleo pneumatic struts for the zero maintenance of the rubber pucks every single day. I mean, I owned a 172 for 2 years, I think. Probably in those 2 years, 5 times I arrived at the hangar with a nose strut flat on the stops because the seal leaked. And then I owned a Piper Apache for 3 years. In those 3 years, I think twice I came to the hangar and had a strut, flat on its stop because, the seal leaked. So, given the trade-off of smooth ground handling versus zero maintenance, I will take zero maintenance personally. Of course, I'm the frugal Mooney. I'm a cheap ass. I don't want to get things fixed. And in terms of seals breaking or anything like that, I believe the rubber discs have to be serviced. Depends on if the plane's kept outside or inside. But if I'm not mistaken, it's like every 20 or 30 years, something like that. And that's all the maintenance you need to do. Replace the discs every 20 to 30. Yeah. Bad ground handling, 100% true. Next one. The rudder pedals are very far forward, and they're very hard to reach. Yes and no. It depends on your perspective. The way Mooney designed the airplane, the real thing is the instrument panel is really close to you. It's actually a few inches closer than in other airplanes you may be used to. So since the instrument panel is closer, it makes you want to sit a certain distance from the instrument panel that you are used to in airplanes you've been flying. Well, Mooney didn't design the airplane that way. Mooney designed the airplane for the instrument panel to be closer to you. So all you have to do is just slide the seat forward until your feet hit the pedals normally like you're used to. The only thing is, the instrument panel is going to feel closer to you than you're used to. But that's the way the airplane was designed. And I will let you know, it does feel weird at first when you fly in the airplane to have the instrument panel sitting just 2 to 3 inches closer. It's not that much, but it's 2 to 3 inches closer, and it feels a little bit weird. But by the end of the first flight, maybe the second flight, you don't even notice it at all. It is totally a non-thing. It becomes your new normal. It becomes the perfectly normal like any other airplane. So, all right, probably the granddaddy of them all. The biggest rumor is that Mooneys are so tiny and they're cramped and they're uncomfortable. And everything about you need a shoehorn to get yourself into the airplane and all this stuff. Obviously, everything's a matter of opinion to some extent and a matter of perception. But as far as I'm concerned, This whole myth of Mooneys being tight and cramped inside is 100% totally false. And everyone who's watching this, I'm saying, oh, that's bullcrap, you're lying. I have numbers to back it up, and I will show them here in just a second. Now, there's so many people I know, I've read, people have said online, it's like, no, I've flown Mooneys, man, they are cramped, they are. And I don't know where this comes from. I think it's a combination of preconceived notions, altering perceptions, and I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for just saying that. But, and then the other thing being, once again, the instrument panel being close. I think that makes people feel a little bit claustrophobic if they're not used to it. But, like, you know, I don't know what you want to do with this space. I mean, you're not going to hang shelves up here or, you know, paint pictures or something. It's instrument panel space. Who cares if it's here or if it's here? It's here. You're not doing anything with this space anyway. So you get used to it after a couple seconds. It's really not that big of a deal. But anyway, back to the numbers of why I call BS on Mooneys being tight. Oh, there's one more thing. There's one more thing why people perceive them being tight. And of course people think it's got to be tight inside because they go so fast and they're aerodynamically efficient. And everyone knows the drag equation is 1/2 rho CD A V squared. A being frontal area of the airplane. So yeah, they've done a lot to optimize the coefficient of drag, but you know they got to get that frontal area down. So they just made it tight and cramped inside. Well, what they did though is they didn't narrow the airplane down. They just squashed it from floor to ceiling. So the seats do sit a little low to the ground. They don't sit as low, nearly as low as a Cessna 152, but they're not like a Cessna 172 or 182. Feel like you're sitting in a kitchen chair driving a bus with your feet below you. It's a little more sports car-like, but it's really not that much lower than a Piper Cherokee. It's somewhere in between a Piper Cherokee and a Cessna 152 sitting on the ground. I'd say it's probably 3/4 of the way towards the Piper Cherokee.
06.
So it is that's a little bit weird, sitting closer to the ground than maybe airplanes are used to, with your legs being a little bit out farther in front of you. But for me, I really don't care that much about how high it is as long as my head's not hitting the ceiling, which as you can see, it doesn't hit the ceiling. My biggest concern is width. I don't want to be rubbing shoulders and rubbing elbows with my passengers. So that's the main number to me, and that's why I say this myth is unequivocally false. Because let me read some numbers for you here. The cabin width of a Mooney is 43.5 inches wide. For comparison, a Cessna 172, 40 inches wide. A Cessna 182, everyone's champion of big, roomy, four-seater airplanes. The Cessna 182, 42 inches wide. Once again, the Mooney is 43.5. Mooney is 1.5 inches wider than the vaunted Cessna 182. Piper Cherokee is 42 inches wide, same as the 182. The Beach Bonanza, old ones 4-seaters, new ones 6-seaters. Everyone thinks the Bonanza is a great roomy airplane. Beach Bonanza, 42 inches wide. Once again, this airplane, the Mooney, that's so tight and cramped inside, 1.5 inches wider than the Bonanza. Like I said, it's not cramped inside. I don't know what people are talking about. Now, when you compare it to like a Piper Apache or a Piper Aztec and a Cessna 310, those are all 48 inches wide. That's, you know, another 6 inches wider than a 182. That's a different beast. I feel perfectly comfortable, perfectly roomy. Like I said, for me, this one, totally busted.
Left downwind for 3680.
Next one, Mooneys are hard to work on because, of course, they're cramped and small and all the other rumors that we've talked about. I'm not a mechanic. I really can't comment too much on this one. The one thing I do know is inside the engine compartment, it's tight. I do change my own oil, and I did have some issues changing my oil at first until I learned the oil change trick. After learning the oil change trick, it's been super easy, and in fact, it's been no harder than changing oil on any of the other airplanes I've owned. But no, it's nothing like, you know, my hangar neighbor across from me has a Comanche with a 180 horsepower engine. And I think you could sling a hammock between the engine and the firewall and sleep in that that engine compartment. Yeah, Mooney's totally not that way. It's very tight up there. But from what I've gathered, you know, all mechanics, they have tricks of the trade, and they learn how to do it, and it's not that big of a deal from what I've been told. But I don't know. You know, my annual inspections have been egregiously expensive, so it doesn't seem like
they have lots of time to look at it.
they're really that tough to deal with or to work on. So that's it. Those are the big myths. I'm sure I've missed some. If I've missed any, let me know. If you have any comments on these myths and my opinions on them, let me know. I'm sure this video is going to be extremely controversial with a lot of people. Everyone telling me I'm a liar or whatever, but whatever. It is what it is. So I don't know.
Quick to get.
Sure, like I said, everyone's experience is going to be different. There are reasons people are going to like something or not like something, but hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll be landing shortly.
And number 6 Delta Romeo, that traffic's on about a half-mile. Final altitude indicates 1,000, Diamond.
All right, have him in sight, 6 Delta Romeo.
6 Delta Romeo, Rudder, follow that traffic. Number 2, wind 3508, runway 5 left, clear for the option. Correction, clear to land.
Clear to land 5 left. And, can I do a long approach on this one?
6 Delta Romeo, long landing is approved.
All right, 6 Delta Romeo. That was a little bit boomed it, but it's all right.
26 Delta Romeo, turn right at Golf, cross runway 5 right, and taxi ramp. Good day.
Right at Golf, cross 5 right, taxi ramp. Good day, Mooney 16 Delta Romeo. Alright, so that's it. Mooney myths, Mooney rumors. Lots of them, as I've told you. Some of them I have no idea how they started. It's obvious, I love this airplane. I love Mooneys, I think they're great. They're not perfect, but other than the ground handling thing, I love this airplane. Like I said, I will not trade this landing. As much as I hate the ground handling, I will not trade this landing gear for anything just because of it's basically zero maintenance and always reliable.
Quarter 150.
Talk to you guys next time.